Day you can acquire a Hall of Fame level player is a good day for the franchise. We're very excited to announce the trade for Chris Paul. I first want to thank Patrick Beverley, who gave so much to the Rockets over the years. Was really the heart and soul of the team. It's tough to see him go. Sam Decker, tons of potential. Lou Williams, Kyle Wilcher. Want to thank what they've done for the franchise. Also want to thank Mr. Alexander, who gave us the resources today to, I think, pull off how many trades we do? Six trades. Really put his foot forward to say, let's do everything to not only get Chris Paul, but also get the resources so we can continue to improve the team. It's a guards-based league. It's a weapons race in the NBA, and you're either in the weapons race or on the sidelines. And we felt like this is, with James Harden in his prime and Chris Paul in his prime, this gives us a real shot to chase the juggernaut teams that are out there, and puts us right there with them. So we're very excited to have Chris. He's such a unbelievable player, and so important for the league overall. And we think he and James and our core with Trevor and Eric and Clint and Ryan and Nene, we really feel like we've got something special here in Houston.
I agree. The biggest thing for me is that the guys we lost, especially Pat. Any trade, you feel great about one thing and bad about another. And Pat's, I've probably coached 160 guys in this league, and he's one of the top 5. I mean, just his heart and soul and what he does, and so is Joyce. So you hate that, but Chris Paul is Chris Paul, and I've always thought that Chris for the last 10 years has been the best point guard in the league until Coach James, obviously. So it's great to have both of them. And the good thing about it is a lot of people will question, well, how do they play together, the ones on the ball. You can go through all that. You can say what bad things, but then you can look at the good things, what they can do together, and it outweighs the bad things. And it's a little bit like the USA basketball, or like Durant going to Golden State. You can sit around all day and say, why that wouldn't work. Well, guess what? It does, because they want it to work. And I know James and Chris want it to work. And that's all it takes. It's like USA basketball, when they all went there with all their egos and all stars on every team. Why does that work? Because they played for the United States. They didn't play for individual stuff or a contract or anything else. And I think James and Pat are both, James and Chris are both at that point in their career where that'll happen. And when that happens, you can't have too many point guards on the floor. You can't have too many smart guys. You can't have too many stars. And we just got to make it work.
Open for questions.
Daryl, how long have you been working on this, and when did it finally become like something that could happen?
Well, we were talking to the Clippers about a potential July sign and trade if it got to that, but really, we can't advance the ball there. We always expected it to be in July, and then the Clippers reached out to us about the possibility of maybe a trade earlier might work, and we jumped at it. I think it was smart by the Clippers. It was a win, really a win-win type situation where we can acquire Chris early. It allows us to continue to have our exceptions to go out and do free agency with some larger dollars. We have the ability to use full mid-level, biannual. What I mentioned about Mr. Alexander giving us all the resources, we were able to pick up players and also give ourselves essentially a traded player exception that's in the $11 million range. So, gives us a lot of flexibility. Like in a year where we're going all in, it's important to have more resources. Whereas if you wait till July and you hope to sign Chris later after he has meetings with multiple teams, you don't know how those meetings are going to go. So when the opportunity to trade for him early, we jumped at it, came together quickly, we would have been down to minimums if we signed him in July. So, I think once you're close, and especially chasing these super teams out there that we're trying to join, you have to keep your resources dry to keep improving the team, because it's not just to have James Harden. It's not just enough to have Chris Paul and Eric and Trevor and the great players we have, but you got to continue to have flexibility to get better again. So that was really the reason why an early trade was worth so much to us. That when you're at the 10-yard line, you got to be able to get yourself all the way to the touchdown and not just get stuck at the 10 with no more resources to upgrade the team. So that was a big part of the trade, and I also wanted to thank Montrezl Harrell for what he did for us last year, especially when Clint was out. Did a lot for us. Actually, we were trying to keep him out of the deal till the last minute, and he got put in there. And I think all the young players we have in there, Decker and Harrell, who are younger especially, have big futures in this league.
Daryl, I'm sure it's an obvious question, but how much did it play an impact that James Harden's here make this done?
I mean, everything. I thank Mr. Alexander, because that's front and center of me being able to do these trades today. But without James Harden, none of this happens. I mean, he's the reason everyone wants to be in Houston. I mean, obviously we have an unbelievable organization and a great head coach that everyone wants to play for, especially guards. But really James Harden is the key and the reason. His unselfishness, and his ability to make other players better. And now I think we have the two best playmakers in the entire league on one team. I'm so excited to see it on the floor. With coaches' leadership, working with those players, I really think it's something special.
Mike, how do you foresee those two playing together, two guys who've led the league in assists? How do you see it work out?
I see Clint Capella being the leading scorer of the team. That's all I see.
A lot of dunks.
No, he's gonna be dunking left, dunking. We'll have to figure it out a little bit. I've never, the more point guards you have on the floor, the better it is, because whether James is running a pick and roll and Chris is there who can hit shots, the ball swings to him and then he's gone. You can't stop him, and vice versa. And whether it's Chris bringing it up or James, we'll figure it out. There'll never be a time that one of those two aren't on the floor, so that makes it pretty good all the way through. So there's endless possibilities, and and again, I'm concentrating on them, but Eric Gordon and Trevor and all these other guys and Nene, and they're all just as valuable. The reason we were so good last year that everybody had a role and they adapted to it. And we overachieved, and I expect these guys to do the same thing, and we'll adapt to whatever we need. And it's hard to say today, well, they'll play exactly. I don't know until you watch them play a little bit, and watch the dynamics and the other guys, and we'll figure it out.
Is it your intention or planning long-term to sign Chris to the max deal next summer?
I mean, obviously that's not really a conversation we've had. So, we want Chris here as long as possible, but, at the appropriate time, when we can talk about that, we'll definitely want him to stay as long as possible.
What would you did all the trades for non-guaranteed guys, some of which go to LA. What was the purpose of the additional trades, particularly of the guys who aren't moving right away?
Well, yeah, we like those players we got. We had to send out a lot of players, so we're filling up our roster with guys we think could help. That's important, I would say. In addition to that, we needed some of those players actually to even complete the trade, so we did that. And then on top of that, not only do we add players who can help us, It also, through sort of cap maneuvers, creates, what is essentially, a traded player exception, which allows us to add yet another player in the 11 to 12 million range. All these things, obviously that we have to find players that might fit our mid-level and biannual, and this, essentially a traded player exception. But having those options, I think, really helps us. Another advantage, and why we, when the Clippers approached us, we really thought it was a win-win, and they were very smart to do it early because, at this early juncture, it's worth more to us, so they can actually get more value as well. We now walk into free agency knowing what financial tools we have to get players, with Chris Paul and James Harden recruiting those players, versus the other way, we're meeting, hoping to convince Chris, to stay. Hoping to convince Chris to come to the Rockets, and that's very, different than on, on July 1, having them in hand, and now those players want to come play for two of the best playmakers ever.
Even though you really wanted Chris, obviously, was it painful for you to give up so many of your guys that you've had here and kind of developed and seen grow and everything?
I mean, yeah, very tough, I'd say. I mean, obviously Pat being number one, I think, one of my top guys we've ever had here. Really the heartbeat of the team, and that was tough. I mean, I think he's going to have a great career, and I spoke to him today, and said, you never know in this business, it may, hope maybe come to pass someday where he's back here, and hopefully that could work out. He's great. The other players gave us a lot last year, and Decker, Lou, and Harrell. Kyle almost got us a D-League championship, so he got that too. So I'd say, Lou gave us such a boost when he got here. Decker's on his way to being a great player, and so is Montrezl Harrell.
Daryl, when you got a chance, when you get that chance to call your owner and tell him it's actually happening, what was that conversation like?
It was, I think it was 4 a.m., so I told him the next morning.
Okay.
It's great. I mean, Mr. Alexander's only focused on one thing, and he got those 2 championships early, and everything's about that and his granddaughters, and I'm humbled that he has faith in Coach and I to really try and lead this thing to another championship, and I just really want to do that for him and the fans of Houston and James Harden. That's really all I'm hoping to do.
Mike, could you talk about, if challenge is the right word, the challenge of coaching guys like James Harden and Chris Paul together? I mean, you've done things like this in the past. What is this like?
Well, the challenge isn't the right word, but
What is the right word?
Joy, an opportunity to be really good. Like I said, Chris is really good, and I've coached him in the summers with USA Basketball. We were together 8 years, and so I kind of know his game, and he knows me, and I'm just really looking forward to it. But you're talking about sure Hall of Famer, easy, one of the best point guards ever played the game, and if we can't figure it out, then we're in trouble. So I just think that, and he's a great defensive player too. He's everything, and I think he'll fit perfect with James. And there'll be some bumps a little bit early just to figure out the chemistry between the two and the other guys. And but that's again, we've got guys that want to win, and that's half the battle.
Daryl, there were a lot of reports that James Harden was pretty influential in Chris Paul coming to the Rockets. Can you speak to just how involved he was? And
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's obviously more just people see what James can do and his ability to make others better, and that's what makes him attractive. On top of that, through his USA Basketball experience, he's a guy everyone wants to play with on that team, and just you know, I think the NBA today, you got to have one guy like James who's your foundation because it allows everything else to happen. If we don't have James, you know, we don't have Chris, and you know, now that we have James and Chris, I think, you know, people are gonna look in free agency and say, hey, I'm gonna, you know, I can make this money there, but maybe for close to money, but not quite as much, I'm gonna come to Houston and try and win a ring. So that's a big difference walking in July 1 with that kind of a situation versus, you know, hoping after meetings Chris signs with us on July, you know, 6th.
Mike, can you talk about, you said it a little bit, but about just the excitement of coaching these kind of players together, building on, you know, the kind of pace and what you guys did last year as a coach. How exciting is that for you?
Very much so. It's just a lot of possibilities, and the more, you know, the better the players, the more things you can do. And, you know, going back a little bit, players now get together. You know, it's become a league where you just kind of sit back and who wants to play here, and they all get together and they come in mass. And you know, I'm sure James was influential, but also Trevor and Ryan and all the good stuff that was going on. Pat, even just because of what it looks like on TV, and everybody knows everybody's business now. And when you start to get a good feeling among the players, it's fun. Then the money is relevant, but not like it used to be. I mean, there's a big difference between making 4 here, 8 there. Now they're all set for life, and so now it's like, you know what, we need a championship, or I want a situation with my family, and I can be the best I can be. And I think that's what the players are now looking into more than anything. And now it's up to the organizations to be the best organization you can get, how they play and how things look, and it's a great recruiting tool. And but you know, with Pat, God, I keep getting tired. With Chris,
You did love Pat.
I did. He was great. With Chris, it's just that, like I said, the biggest thing is it'll be, you know, a Hall of Famer on the floor all the time. And he's one of the smartest players I've ever been around. And James is really smart. So it gives you a real chance to be able just to figure things out and try to make it the best it can be. But, you know, we were really good offensively last year. I mean, Daryl can tell you the numbers. There's no reason why we're not better at all. And I think, you know, under Jeff, another year of guys doing the same thing, we'll be better defensively. So, and it's still a long ways to go to Golden State. And then the bottom line is you see Golden State playing, you go, well, you know, we don't want to play for second. Nobody wants to play for second. So we're trying to get up there and be a legitimate contender.
You made a lot of references to some of your free agency thinking and how it's changed. Well, is there a way you can describe the kind of player you want to add? What sort of qualities that?
Ones that help us win.
Narrative, position,
I would say
strength, style.
I would say just to build on something Coach said, you know, not only, you know, having Chris with James, I mean, you know, we had a lot of great players, but there's a lot of pressure on James, especially once we got to the playoffs. You know, you know, with him being the focal point against night after night the best defenses in the league in the playoffs. You know, you know, after playing a long season of him, you know, carrying a big offensive load. That's tough. He obviously did it, carried us very far. We all were disappointed it wasn't farther, but it was a hell of a year, and we wish it had gone farther. Chris and him are going to carry each other through the season, get us in a good spot, good seed, and then in the playoffs we are so much stronger to face who we're going to face in the playoffs. Having two guys who have had that much experience and can handle that much of a load. So with our free agency, we're looking for more guys who can really help us in those playoff series.
Any other questions?
Historically, or recent history, I should say, this team obviously is known for the three-point shooting. But with Chris Paul, of course he's a good three-point shooter, but also you're looking at a guy who is one of the better mid-range players ever. Is it a situation where you adjust the system to Chris and incorporate some of that mid-range game into the offense?
Well, Steve Nash is a pretty good mid-range shooter, and he did all right. So I I don't, you know, he might fire me because we don't take
Oh,
enough threes,
geez.
but, you know,
It still counts 3 versus 2.
it does. The shot chart might not look exactly the way it did last year, but you play the strength of your team, and, you know, again, we just try to shoot over, adjusted field goal percentage over 50%, we make sure around 55, he shoots like 53 from 2.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
So, okay, but, you know, we'll still shoot threes.
You know, we're just trying to score as much as possible, and Chris is good from everywhere, so,
Yeah.
you know, we have a real Hall of Famers can do whatever they want, probably, so it's not- it's
So
not-
who did you call at 4 a.m.?
At
It
4
wasn't me,
a.m.?
heck, no, I was too old for that.
Well, it was 5 a.m. on the East Coast, so yeah, no, I called James, cause, you know, thought he might be up.
Well, I can't believe you right there.
Just about Beverly, you guys have both mentioned that he's the heart and soul of the team, or he was, but do y'all feel like it'll be kind of hard to kind of replace a guy like that just brought so much energy and effort to the team?
I think it was hard, very hard, but, you know, if you're gonna do it, you know, bringing in a, you know, 9-time All-Star, however many are press release, I'm surprised it's not more, is a good start. But, yeah, he's been so key and such a good fit with James. You know, it is tough. It is tough, but, we're excited for Chris, and, you know, we think he's gonna add a ton next year.
But you just can't get a player like that without giving up something.
Yeah.
So if you're not talking about Barry, you're talking about Trey, but talking about somebody really good. And, you know, we'll miss Pat, but, you know, gotta go on.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.